Hello everyone, and welcome to Step Back in Time. If you haven't subscribed already, I hope that you will. As you know, a sad event occurred in our world with the passing of Queen Elizabeth. I thought that we would do a little video about some of the collectibles that I have. For the occasion, I have myself a crown that I got at Spirit Halloween today, and I am wearing my Queen shirt, which also has a crown and is one of my favorite bands. I love Freddie Mercury and I love Queen. I have been somebody who's been interested in the royal family since I was a little girl. I remember my mom at one of the rummage sales getting me a book about Queen Victoria, and I read that. I have some English ancestry. I do have a little bit of that. But most of my ancestry is Polish. I have some Russian in my ancestry. I also have a lot of Scottish and Swedish and some Norwegian. My grandmother was born in Scotland, my one grandmother. And that could also be what has brought about this interest in the royal family. And when I was a young girl, I had gotten some dolls. I collected dolls, and my mom had gotten me Peggy Nisbet dolls, which I will show you in just a little bit. And I was about 14 years old. I had the opportunity to travel to England with my grandparents. It was a wonderful trip. We went to Madame Tussauds Museum, and it was really, really cool. And I got to see some wax figures of the royal family. And this is the photo that I took of the royal family in wax when I went to Madame Tussauds. With Princess Diana joining the family, Queen Elizabeth had been my favorite up until then, and then Diana took over. But I always held a place in my heart for Queen Elizabeth. Like many, I was disappointed when Diana died because it took her a while to respond. I'm not sure, what was going on. Her popularity did dip just slightly during that time, but she has always remained somebody that people have loved. And it was evident when I was over in England at that time. I remember you'd go by the newsstands and by the little souvenir shops, there would always be headshots of different members of the royal family, including the Queen. In fact, I did buy a little booklet of the royal family from Madame Tussauds when I was there. There's definitely going to be an interest in this as well, with Charles taking the throne as king. I have a hard time thinking of him as king because I've always felt and known of him as Prince Charles. And I'm not really a fan after what happened with Diana, I will admit that. Now, eventually William will become king when he takes over from his father. And I mean, not to knock Charles, but I'm not so sure. He's got some big shoes to fill with his mother because she was so beloved. But I tend to think that William will make a good king when he eventually becomes king. I think that he's got a much better and kinder character, which I know he gets some great qualities from his mother, and what a lovely lady she was. At this point, I've probably done enough rambling. I hope I haven't offended or upset anyone, but I tend to think, based on what I'm seeing online and on social media, there are a lot of people who would agree. After Princess Diana was killed in the car accident, I remember a friend of ours had family in London who told us that people in her neighborhood were throwing food at Camilla in the supermarkets because they were so upset. They looked at it that certain things wouldn't have happened to Diana if the process hadn't occurred with all of the problems that had gone on in that marriage. And so it was just a very sad scenario that happened with Diana. I'm gonna get myself neatened up, and because I can't look like this, show you such beautiful things. So I shall return shortly, but it'll be like 2 seconds for you. And I will show you some of my royal treasures. Hello. So I wanted to get cleaned up. I thought it would be important to dress in something what I consider royal looking, and I've got on this elegant looking gown. You might be able to see. This is a long gown. You will see this in another video if you haven't already. It was something I just bought recently and I'm very excited to have it. I had a couple of gowns that I have just gotten at an antique store that was closing, and they are vintage, beautiful gowns. I got them for under, one was 10 and one was 15. And I got a whole bunch of things for 35, so I'm just thrilled. But I wanted to wear this one specifically because blue was one of Queen Elizabeth's favorite colors. And so I felt with her passing, let me straighten that out. I felt with her passing it was important to wear something that she loved. So I'm wearing, of course, my jewels are not like hers, but they are still pretty nonetheless. These are costume cocktail rings that I have that belonged to one of my grandmothers. And then these earrings, since they're blue and that one is falling off a little bit, but these are clip-on earrings that I ended up getting many years ago when I was a teenager, and they were worn for many years with love. Now, when I was a young vintage girl, I had the opportunity in the 1980s to travel over to England and Wales with my grandparents, and we went on a tour with, it was a bus tour, but we did spend some days in London when we were there. And one of the places that we were able to go to was Buckingham Palace. Not that we got inside there, but I was able to take some pictures. These weren't developed until a few months later. These were taken in August of 1984, but were developed in November of 1984. I think I had a few stray pictures on one roll. Something that all of you who don't print photos regularly don't have to worry about when you have those last few pictures on a roll, because I have a ton of pictures from that trip when I went with my grandparents. I had a magnificent time. It was my first time over to Europe, and I did end up living there for a semester when I was 19 years old. I was a sophomore in college. I didn't live in the UK, but I lived in Switzerland, in the French-speaking part of Switzerland, because that is part of my degree. But I found these few pictures of Buckingham Palace, and here is one that I took. You can see the quality of the film. It's definitely vintage appearing. And if you notice, there's a flagpole up top of Buckingham Palace, and there is no flag on there, which means that the Queen was not present there at the time that I visited. I would have loved to have been in her space, and that was something I was aiming for. But we had the opportunity to see some guardsmen, which was really neat. Here are some more guardsmen that I took photos of. You can see some other tourists up there. It was such a unique experience. Though I had a dinky little camera, it was a Kodak disc, I was somehow able to get a picture of one of these guardsmen there at Buckingham Palace. I was very excited to get that. It was just really such a neat thing to be able to see that and that history. Backing up a little bit to my history, like I'd mentioned before, I did do some collecting with things relating to the royal family when I was a bit younger prior to that. And I have a few things I'll be showing you relating to that. This was probably the first item that I got, and it makes me sad to see her condition, but this is Queen Elizabeth in doll form and her Trooping the Colors costume. This is from a doll maker named Peggy Nisbet, these dolls were made in England. Unfortunately, the hang tag is no longer on there, but you can, if this is something that you collect, if you collect dolls. Oh boy, and there's a safety pin on this dress. Who knew? Sorry, folks. If you do collect dolls, you may enjoy this doll because it's made in England. This is from the 1970s. Unfortunately, my doll's hair is starting to deteriorate, something I'm sure that I can repair or get repaired. But you can see her face. It does look a bit like Elizabeth. Peggy Nisbet, her first dolls were, one from what I have read, was making a doll of Elizabeth. I have a number of Peggy Nisbet dolls, not just the royal family. I have Judy Garland doll, I have Lily Langtry, I have Madame Pompadour. I have a lot of Peggy Nisbet dolls because that was something that I collected. And this one was from the 1970s. We had purchased this doll in New York City at Macy's. I still have memories of going into the Macy's store in New York City with its magnificent escalators and going, they even had wooden escalators at that time from some of the levels. And it was just a really wonderful experience. They had a gorgeous toy department there. Those were also the days when FAO Schwartz was in existence, and it was a different feeling going shopping for toys. It's not like now going and getting something on Amazon, or even going to Toys R Us or Child World, which were a couple of the toy stores back then. I had gotten this beautiful doll. My mom had gotten this one for me. And this was the first one with the Trooping the Color. And you can see this is a uniform you may see pictures of Elizabeth wearing. She's got leather boots here. She's got this beautiful black, it's all made out of felt. She's got an insignia on her. She's got her feather, and this is a sweet velvet hat. Now, you would probably, and this is probably one of the more known Peggy Nisbet dolls. And unfortunately, this one of mine has always, and this is not from age, but it's always had this issue with its crown. The crown was always cracked. But this also came from the Macy's store, and you can see the purple crown. It's famous. And this is Elizabeth with her scepter. She's got, you can see how pretty that is. She's got a necklace on. This is from the 1970s as well. You can see her long train. I think it's just lovely. Now my copy, some of the threading came off, and it was like that. It's been like that for years. It doesn't have to do with age, but it was a fur style. This is faux fur. Elizabeth's was real, her train. And so this is the doll. If you wanted to pick yourself up a recent collectible with Queen Elizabeth, this is one of the latest editions of People magazine. There are 2 commemorative covers with the Queen on it. You can see the date, September 26, 2022. You can see a little something about the spread here. You can also see something here about it from the editor. And you can see both of the covers there. I had seen the other one on the newsstands, but I decided to get the first one because it was the only one left when I had purchased this the other day in Walmart. You can see that there's a photo spread here with a tribute. We know about the rainbow that was visible there at Windsor Castle. some other pictures. You can see the Queen wearing blue here. Like I mentioned, that was one of her favorite colors. I can never wear beige because nobody will know who I am. I thought it would be very interesting to show you, though, this. Here she is in her Trooping the Color costume that she's wearing on the doll. You can also see her different crowns, but we can see, of course, hers doesn't have the crack in it like my doll does, but you can see the crown there. And you can see she's wearing the cape and the necklace. Really neat. Speaking of Elizabeth's coronation, which was in 1953. Now her father passed away. It was 1952 when she took over, but her official coronation was in 1953. There was, and when I discovered this, it was just this summer, there was some jewelry that was created in honor of this exciting time, this transition when she officially took her seat as the Queen of England. And Trifari, which I have known for years, has been a well-known costume jewelry maker and was, when it makes a lot of vintage jewelry, had made some jewelry just for the coronation occasion for average consumers like you and me to purchase. And I did not realize that until I decided to do a Google search. I used Google Lens to search these earrings. You can see them here. And I'll flash, and thankfully there was the House of Francesca. Thank you. Even though we don't know each other, it's thanks to your ad that these came up on Google Lens. It was not your ad specifically, but they shared the vintage ad of these earrings, which came in a set with a pin. It appeared like there were 3 different sets that were created for Elizabeth's coronation. Unfortunately, I bought these at a church rummage sale that was in my former church from growing up. I told stories previous to this about shopping at that rummage sale for vintage treasures, and I'd gone there about 8 years ago. I would say it was like around 2014, and I had seen these earrings. They were in this box, and unfortunately, the little pads to the earrings, I wore these to work the other day. It was the first time I'd worn them, actually. I had gotten them because I was thinking about getting into reselling, and I saw that these were Trifaris, so I figured they had some value to them because I know a little something about something when it comes to different brands, and especially not as much in the hard goods, but more in the vintage clothing and jewelry. But I figured that these might have some value since they were Trifari. Well, lo and behold, these were ones that were commissioned for Elizabeth's coronation. And these are kind of the crown jewels. There's a picture of me I'll show. I did wear them to work. They were uncomfortable on my ears. I did take them off because they were really, really hurting. I put them back on later, but then I ended up taking them off again. But I will likely hold on to these. I would love to find the pin that goes with that, but just since we're talking about value, I have seen the pin. If I'm fortunate enough to find it at a sale again, that would be such a blessing or any of the ones that were from this collection, because the ones that I've seen on eBay, and I don't think it has anything to necessarily do with her passing, but it maybe they jacked up the price. I've seen them on eBay and Etsy now for anywhere between $800 to $1,000 just for the pins. I can't imagine what a full set would be like of these. And this is another royal family treasure. This is another Peggy Nisbet doll. Now, as I mentioned, my grandmother was born in Scotland, and so this is Mary, Queen of Scots, who is also a member of the royal family. Unfortunately for her, she was one of the members who was beheaded, though. The system was very unfair. She was in prison for about 18 years before she was killed. She's absolutely beautiful with her velvet hat and her beautiful collar and her cape. Now, I had gotten these as a little girl, so they were with me in my parents' house. And then I moved in with my ex-husband. And then we got divorced. Now, these were stored because I didn't have any place to put them, even when I was married to him. And the house we were living in at that time, I was hoping to expand on and then eventually display my dolls, and that didn't happen. And then I was in transition for a while in one place that I was renting and then an apartment. So my dolls have been through a transition, and I feel that once I'm truly an empty nester, then I'm going to get everything set up once I have the room again to set up my dolls. If there's a way that I can find room in the house, because I'm still putting things into place in this house, then I will set them up again, because I have a lot of beautiful dolls that I've collected over the years. And so it would be really wonderful to be able to get them back on display, including this lovely lady. Now, we know this tale, don't we, with Princess Diana and Prince Charles, and we don't want to rehash that and the sadness that occurred in that marriage. But these are my dolls, and unfortunately Prince Charles' hat has seen better days. King Charles, not Prince. But this doll was created when he married Princess Diana. You can see there's this is crafted with her dress. Nobody will forget that, and the amazing long train when she walked in, looking absolutely gorgeous. Interestingly, and maybe it was to capture the detail of her hair, we've got Diana's hair is like rubbery. Poor dress has stains on it, which is so sad. But it appears like the dress, and this is her bouquet, and I'm not sure what's going on with her arms, if this was like that, but they've sort of popped out. I don't know why, because nobody played with them, so I don't know what happened. But that's my Diana doll. Of course, Prince Charles. And this is one of my dolls, a few that, yeah, this is the wedding model. You can see, and this still has a tag on there, HRH Prince Charles. Now King Charles, and this is, you know, what he was dressed in for his wedding. Those are quite striking blue eyes that you have there, sir. And this was a lucrative doll to get at the time, because this was the christening. And this is, we've got baby William, who is no longer a baby, and he's got his own babies. And this says here, Peggy Nisbet model, HRH Princess of Wales, royal baby model, made in England. You can see. And so Charles and Diana were married in 1981, and Prince William was born in 1982. Speaking of the royal wedding, I have some collectibles from that time that I can share with you. My grandmother's cousin Jackie was living with his wife Lola and living with his parents, Tommy and Polly. Now, as I'd mentioned, my family was from Scotland. Tommy was my grandmother's uncle, and Jackie was her first cousin. And somehow, and I'm assuming this was Aunt Polly and Uncle Tommy's. Since they were from the UK originally, they had gotten this Charles and Diana commemorative souvenir, which my mother passed to me. Jackie passed away about 2 years ago, and so she ended up with things from their home. And so this is like a cheese plate to commemorate the wedding on July 29th, 1981. And it was never used. This is a collectible that maybe if you were looking for a royal collectible, might be something interesting to get. And then this one I just acquired recently. I was at the Salvation Army store. I happened to be there with my son when it was my daughter's birthday. My son and I were just driving around while she and her friends were at the mall, and we went to the Salvation Army store in Dover, and I saw this on the shelf. And this is to commemorating the marriage, HRH, the Prince of Wales and Lady Diana Spencer, 29th July 1981. And it is a Royal Grafton. You can see the price tag on the bottom here. I paid $1.99 for this. I am absolutely sure this is worth much more, and sentimentally it is worth more to me. I keep these items in a cabinet, and I will quickly show you the cabinet in just a little bit. I thought it was easier to bring these items here, but I have one Diana item which it's not really easy to transport, so I thought that these would be better to bring over. But I asked them, because it wasn't priced, what the price would be, and the girl priced it on the spot, and then she put the price tag on it for me. And so I was really very excited to get that because I knew it would fit well in my cabinet. And then there's this little pillbox that my mother had gotten me. And it says to commemorate the wedding, HRH, Prince Charles to Lady Diana at St. Paul's, 29 July 1981. And you can see it here. And sadly, with Diana, one of the reasons why she felt, and you can see the seal on the bottom there. From what I understood, she looked at it, even though she knew all the shenanigans were going on in her marriage, even before she was married, she was aware of Camilla Parker Bowles and Prince Charles' relationship. Because of all this stuff, she decided just to go ahead with the wedding, which is very stoic of her and also sad. It breaks my heart to know the pain that she went through, and I really adored her. I know that I'll talk more about her alone on this channel because I just absolutely adored Diana. That would have been the highlight of my life, to have gone over to England and to have spotted Diana. I mean, she just was such a wonderfully exquisite and sweet woman. These are a couple more Diana collectibles of mine, and both of these are relating to her passing. For me as well, after she died, I had purchased a Franklin Mint doll, but unfortunately with my moves, that is still among the missing. I know it's around. I am looking forward to getting that together too, and getting all of my Diana, now all of my stuff together. Like I said in a previous video, it's a bit of a hot mess around here. Anywho, this, and I also have this on 45, which I bought originally. The Catholic Church in the town that I grew up does an annual carnival, and I believe it was the first time that it's come back since the pandemic started this past year. And they have a white elephant sale, which is basically a sale that you go to get stuff that somebody doesn't want, like a church rummage sale. So I had gone to this. It's a really big deal. It raises money for the church's charities. They have some really beautiful stuff there. I had gotten some different collectible items while I was there, and among them I was looking for my VHS. As you know, I am collecting the VHS, and instead I found this Elton John tape. was his version of the Candle in the Wind that he sang at Diana's funeral. And I remember watching her funeral, and I'm sure with the Queen's funeral, that is going to be just a very moving time. I remember watching Diana's funeral, first learning about her death, which was it was a shock to me, as it was to everybody who learned about her passing. It was just atrocious and horrible to know that she had died. And so the outpouring was crazy, but I'll never forget Elton John singing this in her memory. And from what I understood, he had a very hard time staying composed when he was singing this song, and it's beautiful. And I have this on 45 that I had purchased myself, and I have this copy, which is in with my Diana stuff. And then we've got this, which is a beautiful candle, Slatkin and Company candle. This is my second candle that I've had. You can see, gorgeous photo, and I just love the way she looked when this particular look of Diana was put together. I feel this is when Diana, and there's her signature, it was when she was really becoming, when she was finding herself and her identity at the end of her life. I mean, I feel like she finally got to become herself. This candle, if you can get a hold of this, if you are looking for a collectible, they are getting harder to find. I had one that I bought in 1999, I guess. No, maybe they came out she died in 97. So in 1998, I had gone to a store by me and gotten this. I think I paid about $20 to $25 for it. And then I was going through some difficult times in my previous marriage, and I sold the candle to somebody in the middle part of the United States, and it pained me to do so. And I feel like my life is at a place where things are getting back on track. I mean, it's taken long enough. I got divorced in 2008. I can tell you I went through a lot of hell between the year that I got married, which I got married only like about 3 weeks before Diana was killed in that accident. And so I've just been through a lot. My daughter even said that today. But I was looking for one of these candles. I had a very hard time finding one under $100. Strangely enough, I was able to do, because I was doing searches, I was able to find one, because a lot of them are now in the UK only, and the shipping is expensive, but I was able to find one for sale in the US, and to get it at about maybe $30, including the shipping. But it was from somebody in the middle part of the United States. And my daughter said to me, "Mom, what if this is your candle?" Which is interesting. It could very well be, because I never, you can see the candle. Please remove protective coating. I never removed that with mine, and mine was never burned. So it would be interesting if my candle came back to me, but you can see. And the smell is amazing. It is the English rose, and that is something that I'm also looking to acquire again. When Diana had died, Jackson and Perkins created a rose in her memory that looked like this, with the pink and the yellow, and it had this gorgeous scent to it. And now they still have this rose, but it's under a different name, and it's hard to find, but I have put myself on the email list, so when it hopefully comes back, I will be able to get it for my house. I had 2 for my old house, and I pray that they're still alive. They were just gorgeous, and I put them in the front of my old house. We are at my china closet, where you can see all of the items, just about all of the items that I showed you before. And I have some additional items. This is how I normally display them. I have this little tiara that I had gotten when I was a Mary Kay consultant, and I thought this was the best spot for it. With all of this royalty, it was given to me for being Miss Go Give, but you can see how I normally keep this. I have Cinderella here. I had gotten her when I was a little girl and visiting Disney World in Florida. I have a bunch of figurines from that time. And then this was something I also felt could go here, and this was a box that belonged to my mother-in-law. And then this little shoe, which isn't really monetarily worth a lot, but I thought it was kind of fun. I had gotten this as a wedding shower gift, and it's just fun with this Cinderella vibe to it. This is how I keep it, but the last item I'm going to show you is up here. Now that teapot belonged to Aunt Nell, who was my grandmother's aunt. She was married to her uncle Arthur, and Aunt Nell was on the other side of her family. I know I'd mentioned about Uncle Tommy and Aunt Polly. Uncle Tommy was her mother's brother. Uncle Arthur, who Aunt Nell was married to, was her father's brother. And so that teapot was theirs. There's a picture of me, very platinum, with my children who were very small then. But this is my other collectible, Diana Princess of Wales plate that I had also gotten. And I have had this for many years, and it's really just beautiful and special to me. You can see up here Ridgway's HMB Her Majesty's Blend tea. This is a tea tin that I got at a garage sale. Got it for a few dollars, and it does have a reference. I would say this is early 1900s because there is a reference to the late Queen Victoria in there, and that this was a tea that she had asked for. And Queen Victoria, as you likely know, she passed away in 1901. The queen of this household decided it was time to put her crown on. And in the meantime, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you are looking for collectibles relating to the royal family, or if you have some and you were looking for some information, there's plenty online that you can look up and find out more about them. And in the meantime, again, I hope you've enjoyed this 20th century adventure and stepping back in time with me, and that you subscribe. Good day, and goodbye, and good night. Goodbye. I really mean it. Goodbye.